And also he mentioned وله مثله من حديث أبي هريرة ولفظه من دعا إلى هدى ثم قال ومن دعا إلى ضلالة. Another narration for the previous hadith, another warning of it, من دعا إلى هدى, whoever invite to guidance. He has the reward of that and the reward of those who follow them without diminishing any of the rewards. ومن دعا إلى ضلالة, and whoever invite to ضلالة, to deviation, he would get the sin of it and the sin of those who followed him in the matters of the deviation. So these are all verses and hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And there are more statements of the early generations of Islam to prove that bid'ah is far worse than the major sins, and because of this issue and many other benefits or many other differences between the bid'ah or the innovation and the kabair. So did we talk about the different types of bid'ah and how to figure out a bid'ah from the sunnah and things like this? This is not the subject of it now, but we have to establish the clear aspects of belief in this, right? And then another level is to get into the details of that. And there are so many bid'ah, and for some bid'ah are far worse than others, and they lead to what's very evil and so on. Bid'ah in aqidah, for example, bid'ah in matters of ibadah. And it all goes around the same concept, which is ibadah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not reveal to the Prophet ﷺ. And some bid'ah are very obvious. If it's from the origin of it, it's something very obvious that the Prophet ﷺ was not upon. But what confuses many people is what the ulama, they call it bid'ah al-idafiyya, which means it's a bid'ah, it's innovation, and has some roots or foundation in the sunnah. Right? So for example, in ibadah, someone invent a way of making dhikr, for example. That is not according to the way of the Prophet ﷺ. And they would argue that this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us to make dhikr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A'yad, for example, celebrations of some sort. And they would say this is something to revive the reminder of the Prophet ﷺ to the people, to revive a good deed to the people. So we just initiate some, Eid for them. So it's kind of confusing to those who have no knowledge. But we have to understand that with matters of deen, with matters of ibadah, right, is to follow the way of the Prophet ﷺ in what this ibadah originally means and the way to be done. The Prophet ﷺ made dhikr. So how did the Prophet ﷺ make dhikr? This is something that is preserved for us to learn and to follow. So whoever introduced to the people a different way, other than the way the Prophet ﷺ to make dhikr, like jumping, dancing, holding hands and making dhikr, loud together, dhikr, and all these types of ways that people invent of making dhikr, the way of the Prophet ﷺ is the way for us to follow. If they don't have the knowledge of that, they need to seek the knowledge of that. And the same thing with, again, matters of belief, matters of ibadah, and things of that nature, matters of ayat. Eid is deen. And it is not permissible for someone to introduce a Eid or a celebration, something that keeps on repeating, unless it's from the deen of Islam, which is Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. So that's the end of the chapter, and this is again brief, but the concept is very clear, and it is something that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from bid'ah innovations in the deen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Muhammad wa sahbihi wa sallam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.